Welcome to this episode of Career Q&A. I'm Tabitha Quadra-Rodriguez, the Assistant Director for Retention in the Women in Engineering program. We is happy to collaborate with Engineering Career Services to bring you this video during Women's History Month. The Women in Engineering program, just very quickly, is dedicated to the recruitment and retention of women in the engineering field. We offer a variety of programs, services, and opportunities with the goal of supporting our students in the Clark School, particularly those who identify as women. We work to build a strong sense of community, to support our students, and to ensure that all of our women engineering students are successful, happy, and fulfilled. I'm here with two of our women in engineering interns and two of our recent alumni. And the topic we're going to talk about today is how to be a good ally in the workplace. Today, men vastly outnumber women, not only in the STEM majors in college, but also in the workplace. So we've made great strides in the last 50 years. Back in 1970, only about 8% of STEM workers were women. Fast forward to 2019, that number has increased to 27%. And actually here in the Clark School, for the first time in history, women do make up 27% of the undergraduate population. So although we have made some improvements, we still have a ways to go. Being a woman in a male-dominated workforce comes with many challenges. And today our alumni are going to talk about some of those challenges and how both women and men can be good allies and support women throughout their engineering careers. So at this time, I'm going to take a step back and let our WE interns introduce themselves and take over our program.
Hey everyone, I'm one of the interns. My name is Rafa Alam, and I am a current freshman bioengineer major.
Hi everyone, I'm Izzy and I'm a senior bioengineer major. So Sarah and Priscilla, could you do like a quick introduction of yourselves and talk about your general experience as a woman in a male-dominated workforce and also what it means to be a good ally?
Do you want me to take this one, Sarah? I'll just start us off. All right. Hi, everyone. It is good to be with you all virtually. My name is Priscilla Lee. I graduated with my bachelor's in bioengineering and a minor in global engineering leadership back in May of 2021. I was really fortunate to serve as the graduate assistant for the Women in Engineering program through my master's, where I finished my master's degree in bioengineering in May of 2022. And currently I work as a biologist at the U.S. Army DevCom Chemical Biological Center, where I work on alternatives to animal testing for predictive toxicology measures and projects. And I'm really excited to be here with one of my fellow past WESAB members, WE interns, Sarah, and I'll pass it off to her now.
Thanks, Priscilla. I'm also really happy to be back and good to connect with you again. I graduated from the Clark School last spring, May of 2022. And when I was there, I was also very involved in our WE programs and supporting the WE community. I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. So now I work at ExxonMobil at our Joliet refinery, where I'm a plant mechanical engineer, supporting day-to-day operations of the plant and various improvement projects. And I'm super excited to celebrate Women's History Month with the Clark School. I know that's something in the plant we can definitely work on, is making our women engineers feel more included and really recognize allyship in the workforce. So thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. So now Izzy and I have a couple of questions, so let's dive right in. Many women have faced some sort of challenge or oppression in this predominantly male field. I'm a student. Well, I've only seen the academic side of this, but I was wondering how these challenges manifest themselves in the work.
That's a great question, and it's a great question to start us out. I'll take the lead on this one, Priscilla. So being a woman in a predominantly male workspace, I think it manifests itself in a wide range of styles. And I think that it doesn't only present challenges, but it presents really great opportunities and advantages even. So on one end of things, you go out your day-to-day and you realize like super hyper specific things like you need a hair tie to go out in the field. No one's got one. There's when it doesn't apply to me yet, but we have a few like working mothers and there's no space for them to care for their children throughout the day. Just small built-in things that you realize weren't meant or designed for you. And then in kind of a larger sense, we have the issues that were there before any of us showed up to our workplace, such as I'm alluding to kind of like the pay gap, less women in leadership, and less women that we can look up to as role models in those careers that we want to achieve one day. And those being challenges, they also present really inspiring opportunities to work towards. And I presented both ranges of that, just the small day-to-day stuff and larger overarching issues, such as the pay gap, because there's lots of places that you can pick in between and start working towards. So, yeah.
Yeah, just adding on to Sarah, I think she got a lot of the overarching themes, but I think definitely with being a bioengineering major, which was super fortunate, I didn't really necessarily feel as outnumbered or anything in some of my bio-e major classes, just because bioengineering was the one engineering major where there are actually more female students than male students in that major specifically. But shifting into the workforce, unfortunately, it was not like that, where I had like my equal amount of female counterparts. So just like Sarah said, like the hair tie thing, like if I'm in the lab with a bunch of other male coworkers, no one has a hair tie to spot me or anything like that. I'm a pretty like organized person, and I like to do a lot of labeling and stuff. And I realized that I'm one of the only people that prioritize that kind of like organization using the label maker, trying to keep up to date with like signing and dating everything. Just some of those tendencies, I seem like I'm a little bit more solo with those instead of like everyone else doing it. But I think definitely shifting from a lot of my class sizes and my class environments being really more of the like more female like counterparts and peers, shifting into the workforce where there was less of that, it was definitely a little bit more shocking and surprising for me.
So another question I have is if there are any like programs or initiatives that you guys have at your current jobs to promote women and their contributions.
So I can take this one, Sarah, if you don't mind. So my center currently doesn't have anything specific, but me and a few of my peers are trying to start up a young professionals group within our center, which has been really fun, just learning how to like, start up a club, just like in college again. It's and plan social events and professional events. But one of the initiatives with that young professionals group is to maybe start like, part of that group being for women at the center and like maybe a subgroup of some sort. So I think it's really exciting that new hires and fairly new employees are kind of taking initiative on this, as we're just kind of fresh out of college and getting the opportunity to plan some of those events. And I don't know if I can take the ice cream social from the WE department, but if we have any ice cream related events, I will have to give, I think, the women engineering program some credit, but it won't be from the Maryland Dairy, unfortunately. But a big shout out for some of the inspo right over there.
The ice cream lunches were legendary, Priscilla. There's no way you can top those. I mean, it's Maryland Dairy. So in my workplace, we're more of like a large part of a larger corporation. ExxonMobil has plants like over the entire globe. But on my specific site, which is a lot smaller than a lot of those other refineries, we do stay connected to the SWE chapter. I know at University of Maryland, we do have a Society of Women Engineers collegiate chapter, which is really great. We offer the same sort of opportunities and connections to the larger SWE network. In addition to this, I think our site-specific program too, our Women's Network for Joliet, Illinois group, is really dedicated to actionable ways you can support women in the workplace. And I mean this, instead of having a talk about imposter syndrome and making everyone more aware of this and like recognizing our own tendencies to have imposter syndrome in the workplace as a woman, we do practice presentations. So we set up the Women's Network. We'll get together and help you practice for your big, project presentation, so you don't feel that imposter syndrome take over. And actionable items such as making sure your kids get picked up from work after school. Typically, a lot of the women here in our workplace also take on mother responsibilities at home. So we kind of take off that load and make it easier for some of our working moms to take care of business at work and also take care of family life at home. So.
Awesome insight. Thank you so much. How would you guys describe your experience as a woman in engineering in just a couple of words?
I'll start out with this one. I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I think it is awesome, period. no people in the bathroom, period. I'm always the only one there. There's 2 women that share the women's bathroom with me, and it's great.
Sorry, I think my computer froze out for a little bit. I'm personally working in like the research side of the center. So there aren't that many engineers where I work. So it's been actually really cool to be able to kind of share my engineering experiences in general to a very like wet lab based setting, and a lot of like researchers who have a lot of research experience. But I get to kind of talk about like using CAD and what 3D printing is. And I think that just has been really awesome in general to be able to kind of showcase. But being a female engineering worker there, and that I think it helps me stand out a little bit more just because there isn't that much engineering, and being able to kind of actually use some relevant experience has been really cool. But I can't say there are a lot of other female engineers for where I work, specifically in my branch. So it's been interesting just because a lot of people I work with are really smart and they're really experts in their field. So coming fresh out of college and even just the master's program, I'm like, I've been very fortunate to learn a lot. But I think in turn, I've been also fortunate to teach others a little bit about engineering. But sometimes it does get a little bit isolating just because I want to be able to get some help with programming or CAD or stuff like that. And there really isn't those resources necessarily or people to turn to where I am specifically. But I've been able to kind of outreach to some other engineers on other teams and be able to network with them. So it's been interesting, but it's definitely been fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. And with that, could you guys like describe what a time that a colleague exemplified what allyship could look like in the workplace?
Yeah, I can go. Like I just mentioned before, I'm in a really research heavy environment. So a lot of my coworkers have their PhDs, postdoc experience, maybe 10 to 15 more years of experience on top of that. So entering as one of the only like kind of new grads they've hired in a very long time, I definitely felt a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, why don't I know, this much? And why can't I like, scientifically write like my peers can? And why am I just so bad at like, why am I messing up so many times in the lab? So I was definitely feeling a lot of imposter syndrome and feeling like maybe I don't necessarily belong here because I'm not, as smart or as good or as talented as these like subject matter experts are. But I've definitely had a lot of I guess like female mentors that have actually reached out to me when I first started, and they just were like, "Hey, we're here for you if you need anything." And one big thing that they do is they listen. I think there's a huge difference between hearing and listening, but any kind of a problem or I'm feeling like kind of frustrated, they just like honestly sitting down in their office and just talking to them and venting it to them and talking like a million miles an hour and just them listening has really showed given me appreciation for allyship as well as just like mentorship. And that's like some of those kind of things that I really missed that from the we department at Maryland that I'm finally getting to experience in the workplace. But I really do appreciate all of those female mentors that kind of reached out to me, that they're always there for me and they listen to me, and we can talk about fun stuff too. But I really have appreciated them in the last few months specifically as well.
That's a great story, Priscilla. I'm glad you're finding great mentors at work. My example is kind of similar, but I think that even a more great example or an equally great example is having male allies actually who support you as a woman in the workplace as well. I think a great example of that here is when the majority of the supervisors of our smaller engineering groups happen to be men, but they do a great job of always encouraging the whole group to attend the women's network events and to go support the SWE initiatives and be there for smaller groups that they initially, they don't think they're really a part of, or they're going to be the only guy there or anything. But I think that lead by example, leadership from above, from a man attending these events is a great example of allyship. And I'm really excited for more men to start attending our women's network events.
Awesome. This is kind of the flip side of that question, but could you describe a time where you wish that an ally supported you, and what would that have looked like?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a memory of this so far. It's just about how the way it's easy to get shut out in a meeting. It was a big meeting, we're making a huge decision, and I feel like myself and a few of my other women colleagues tend to quiet down or not be able to yell and shout over the rest of the voices in the room. And when you're the engineer, sometimes your opinion is the dissenting opinion. Like we have to follow this certain way. And if the crowd doesn't like that, it's a problem. So I would say a great opportunity that we need to really work on our allyship is having that male ally for you in the room that will yell over the crowd and say, Sarah has something to say, or hold on, let's listen to Sarah's idea. Someone there that can, speak their language and make sure that you're heard and make sure they don't keep interrupting you and yelling over you. So yeah, so you don't have to be the one that has to raise your voice and be super uncomfortable sharing your idea.
I think for me, I know it's kind of difficult, but kind of in that like pre-start date, like waiting to sign your offer, just having some type of like person or like helper just help you through that like process of like signing your job, making sure that you're getting paid, fairly and stuff. And it's hard because you're technically not an employee, you're not like in the system or anything, and it's hard for people to reach you. But I think it would have been nice in the hiring process, just ensuring that like I was reading my contract correctly and I was getting the same things, like the same pay and the same career ladder as everyone else. I think that would have been really helpful, just to have someone out there kind of walking me through the process. And just because I was a pretty new hire just out of like graduate school, like a lot of people weren't really in the same boat, so they couldn't really give me advice. But I think that's really important, like pre-starting the job, to have someone kind of help you going through those big decisions, as like right before you sign, you do have that power to negotiate and you do have that power to kind of determine like your start of your career at that company. So I think that what for me is a really important thing to consider, as some of you might be looking for jobs or internships as well.
Yeah, that's great. So lastly, what do you think are the keys to retaining women identifying engineers?
I think one big thing that I think I learned again from the WE department here at Maryland is just building community, like and that necessarily doesn't have to be like necessarily all professional or all academic, but just honestly having fun and making friends with the workplace. I know for me, it was even, I'm pretty extroverted, so, but it's still hard for me to kind of like reach out and break out of my shell, just being at a new place. But just having like that sense of community through like fun events, like ice cream socials or like mental health like initiatives and stuff. So I really hope that I can help carry some of those ideas that are currently happening at the University of Maryland and the WE department and the Clark School of Engineering. But if female engineers feel like they're part of a community and feel kind of like a sense of home where they can feel like relaxed and they feel that they belong. And I think that really is done through fun, social, community building events. So that's my biggest takeaway from my undergrad and grad experience. And I hope I can really carry that to the workplace in the next few years.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's really all about personal connection, in my opinion, for retaining women identifying engineers. I think a huge portion of those community building events and social events is meeting someone that you can really relate with. I myself included, and a few of my peers, we sometimes thought when we were going through school and going through college that maybe engineering wasn't for us, because I didn't grow up, building bricks and, working on my car and doing all these things that are typically associated with men in engineering. And so you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. But when you get a personal connection with a woman in engineering who also loves to crochet and do art on the weekends and bake, like that is really great. And they're so successful and they can solve the most complex problems. And I just don't think we hear those stories often enough. And maybe if we did, that would be a wonderful way to keep retaining our women engineers. Just see someone like yourself that also has the same hobbies as you.
Priscilla and Sarah, this has been, you guys have offered us some tremendous insight and experiences, and we have loved hearing everything that you have to share. Do you have any final words about how women can support each other throughout their engineering careers?
I would say, thank you so much, Tabitha. This has been wonderful. I love these questions. One final word from me would be, don't waste all of your energy trying to do all the work on your own. Back to Priscilla's point about community, you need to have a community there to support you. You need to have mentors there that you can rely on. Without them, it's going to be impossible to make sure there's hair ties in every bathroom location, and make sure there's always going to be fire protective clothing for women's sizes that you need to go out and do work in the field. So find allies that will support you when you're out of energy to support yourself. Don't do it all on your own.
Yeah, I think that I totally agree with Sarah and everything she said, being able to like find those opportunities as well. I think also like in my post-grad life, I still was connected with a lot of my peers that I went to college with, because especially in those first couple months, it might be scary or intimidating to kind of reach out. And it's like difficult to try to find your sense of community in general, like, you know, maybe living in a new city or working in a new job or just not being close to like College Park, Maryland. It's definitely a big shift. So I think being able to stay connected with like, you know, some of my fellow peers and talking with them, even though they were not necessarily in the same location, like Sarah's all the way in Illinois right now, but I know we still talk on a weekly basis just about some of the troubles and trials that we face. And I think just take advantage of like that network that you may have been able to build as an undergrad or graduate student, and continue and carry that through your, like, I guess, post-grad real job life. And I think that's a huge benefit that I personally had to lean and rely on in the beginning, at least.
And you guys know that no matter where in the world you go and how far into your careers you go, Women in Engineering is always here to support you. Like, you always have a network with us, you know, back here. And anytime you feel like you need some words of encouragement or anything like that, we are always here to support you. So thank you, Izzy and Rafa, for moderating our discussion. Thank you, Priscilla and Sarah, for taking time out of your busy engineering careers to share your insights and experiences with us today. I hope that those of you watching have gained some value from this video, and thank you so much for joining us today, and happy Women's History Month. Thank you.